people have seen their interest rates on their credit cards double, triple. People are now paying 25 or 30% interest rates, which to my mind is just unacceptable. The issue that we're dealing with today on credit cards is something that I've been involved in for many, many years. I was a member of the Financial Services Committee in the House of Representatives. In 2003, we introduced a legislation entitled the Credit Bait and Switch Prevention Act, which deals with many of the same issues that, in fact, we're going to be dealing with today. So it's taken us a little bit of time to get to where we are, but I think it's a step forward. What I do want to say, Madam President, is that while the legislation that we're passing today is important, and that it is a very good piece of legislation, I congratulate Chairman Dodd for his work on it, it does not go far enough. And one of the areas where it is not going anywhere near as far as it should be is finally addressing the issue of usury in the United States of America and making a moral determination whether or not it is acceptable, whether or not it is moral for banks to be charging Americans 25 or 30% interest rates, and in some cases, in terms of payday lending, significantly higher than that. Is that what we want to be doing as a nation? Madam President, what I would like to do now is just briefly read from what I thought was a very thoughtful article by Arianna Huffington in the Huffington Post, where she touches on the issue of usury, which is an issue that we have got to address. This is what she says, and I quote, "Throughout history, usury has been decried by writers, philosophers, and religious leaders. Aristotle called usury the, quote, sordid love of gain and a sordid trade. Thomas Aquinas said it was, quote, contrary to justice. In the Divine Comedy, Dante assigned usurers to the seventh circle of hell. Deuteronomy 23:19 says, quote, thou shalt not lend upon usury to thy brother, end of quote. Ezekiel 18:10 compares a usurer to someone who, quote, is a thief, a murderer, defiles the wife of his neighbor, oppresses the poor and the needy, commits robbery, does not give back a pledge, raises his eyes to idols, does abominable things, end of quote. The Koran is equally unequivocal, quote, God condemns usury, end of quote, and it goes on to say that, quote, those who charge usury are in the same position as those controlled by the devil's influence, end of quote. In other words, throughout history and in all of the major religions, usury has been condemned. What civilization has said, it is simply wrong and immoral for those people who have money to take advantage of those people who need that money by charging them outrageously high interest rates. And in my view, interest rates of 25, 30, 35, 50% are outrageous, and it is usury, and it is time that the United States Senate addressed those issues. Madam President, up until the late 1970s, and I'm quoting Arianna Huffington again, America's laws followed suit, keeping interest rates in check. Then in 1979, a Supreme Court ruling allowed banks to charge the top interest rate allowed by the bank, by the state where a bank is incorporated, as opposed to the borrower's home state. Hoping to lure banks' businesses, states like South Dakota and Delaware repealed their usury laws, and off we went. That same year, Congress passed the Depository Institutions Deregulation and Monetary Control Act, which, among other things, allowed federally chartered savings banks and loan companies to charge any interest rates they chose, putting us on the path that led us to today, where banks routinely gouge their most vulnerable customers. End of quote. So here's where we are today. Bottom line is we're going to pass a bill that is long overdue. It is a good bill. I commend Chairman Dodd for his hard work. It is an important step forward in protecting consumers. But, Madam President, I am going to be back on this issue of usury. In the United States of America, we have got to finally tell banks and credit card companies that it is simply not acceptable to charge people 25, 30, 35% interest rates. We've got to end that abominable practice, and I intend to be playing an active role in that.